Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Monday night's edition of Not Another Rangers podcast. And it's a glorious Monday because Rangers have won their first league game of the season. At the end of, 30th of September we're on now or so, or the end of September. So after 6 attempts, we eventually managed to beat Livingston 2-1 with a last gasp winner from the much maligned Max Aarons. And to be fair, other than the goal, it was still much maligned for the time he was on, as far as Neil McCann was saying. So we've won a game. So I've seen the comments, there's lots of things, people saying, give us some positivity. So I'm definitely not going to come to Scott first, but I will ask you, Karen, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm happy we won for a change. It was nice to see 3 points on the board. You just got to take the small wins when they come, haven't we? So just hopefully it can spur the team, we can kick on. Might be the start of something, who knows, but it might be delayed in the inevitable, who knows. But it was a win, so we can ask. So.
And Scott, you've resorted to going to watch Arthur League games now at the weekend, trying to get a little bit of entertainment and excitement from your football watching. So, how are you this Monday evening?
I feel a bit better than I did last week, Gary, but I went back to work tomorrow, so. But no, I went to see Athlete on Saturday against Renfrew. It was actually a really good game. Athlete won 3-2. Man gets sent off. Renfrew player gets sent off, but it was a really good, entertaining game. Standing in the wind and the rain, Gary, can't beat it. Getting soaked. None of this 5-star hospitality stuff like you do. Do you know what I mean? But no, I enjoyed it. But yesterday's game, listen, it was great getting 3 points, but there's a big hill still to climb before we move forward. But it's finally good getting a league victory, I have to say.
I was seeing you said but there. I thought, here he goes already. 2 minutes in. So we'll save the buts for as we go through the podcast. So I suppose for tonight, we'll obviously talk about the game in a bit of detail as much as we can. There's not been a lot else happened since Friday night anyway, so we're going to focus on some of the stuff around the game. We'll try and pick up some of the positive points. We'll try and pick up some of the stuff that's happened around the game, and obviously preview the Thursday night Europa League game against Sturm Graz, which you might have forgotten about. You know, Europa seems a bit of a memory in the outside at the moment. These Europa League games, the excitement is not quite as it has been in previous years at the moment. So I suppose what I want to do is let's get the negativity out of the way first, right? So we'll do that. So I'm going to stick with you, Scott, then on this one. So let's get the negativity out of the way. So before the game, Russell Martin was booed off the team bus. He was then booed as he came out the tunnel. I think after 15 minutes, there was more chance around Russell Martin. And again, when Livingston scored. And then finally, when Rangers scored the winner within 27 seconds, I'm reliably informed from reading earlier on, Andy Hardy said it. They then said, Martin, get you again. You know, I suppose just your thoughts on that. I mean, I think there's 2 schools of thought. One, how beneficial is it during the game to be helping the team? And secondly, you know, the disdain and dislike for the man is extremely personal.
I think, Gary, you look at it both ways. A lot of us didn't want him here, right? And a lot of us, I think, he's justified us saying that, the way we've been playing. But also, I don't think he helps himself coming out with some of his comments. But obviously, maybe we don't know him personally, so maybe that's the way he is in general life. But I think with a lot of fans, Gary, it's went too far. There's no way back for Russell Martin. I think we'd have to go in beaten between now and the end of the season and win the league before anybody would say, right, fair enough, Martin, I apologise. You're the man to take us forward. I think that's much the gap is. I think we won yesterday. I think we can get a result Thursday if we did, and then beat Falkirk. But I think as soon as he loses a game or draws a game, this is all back again. I think there's too big a gap between how the fans feel about the manager, and the only way he can basically doing that is winning the league. I think that's the only thing can get him out of this jam. I think a cup would turn some people, but I think if he finishes second, a lot of people are going to say, I told you so, he's not a man. And listen, I don't think he can turn it personally, but if he did, I'll be the first to sit here and say he proved me wrong.
Russell Martin scarf around your neck. Is that prediction? If he turns it around, wins the League Cup, or is it going to be the league?
It has to be the league for me, Gary. The League Cup come on one, so it has to be the league.
So if that's the case, Russell Martin, scarf around your neck, please. We face it either side.
I'm not batting you, Gary. Do you think he can turn that around?
No, I think he can't. And you know, I think it's an interesting one because in terms of football and sense, they can turn it around. You know, you can. That's not the issue really. It's the personal side, the fact that fans don't want him, fans don't like him, fans have got such a disregard for him that irrespective of the football results from now until the end of the season, I don't actually think you can turn around now. At the end of the day, fans only want to see a winning team, so if you would go 30 games unbeaten now, you win the league and then win the treble, fans will tolerate. But even then, against coming into next season after a short while, they will soon turn again. I just think there's a general dislike for him that's too far gone to ever really recover fully.
I don't know if some of the fans feel the way. I think we all feel different about him. It's not personal to me. I just don't think he's a good enough Rangers manager. That's my personal feelings. I don't think he should have been given the job in the first place. And I don't think he's getting any CV big enough to say he deserves a Rangers job. That's just the way I look at it. It's not against him personally. He can be, like I said, somebody's asked me about Man United. That's a different kettle of fish. Amarin should have been away months ago, but he's hanging by a very thin thread as well. But considering the money they've spent, and they're absolutely guffed. But I think Russell Martin's problem is, Gary, he doesn't appease the fans either. I think what he says is good in his mind. Maybe Cameron's different because he's younger and he sees it maybe different for me. But I think certain fans, you have to say certain things. Like Max Edens came out and said he made up for some of the mistake against Bruges. That's great to hear because he didn't come out and say, right, I've done this, so please forgive me. But he just came out and said, I've made up a wee bit. Martin never comes out and says, he doesn't say normal stuff for me. He tries to be too fancy. We should just coming out. We're just normal football fans for Scotland, right? We're for Glasgow, basically, a lot he's from. And we just like to say, right, just say what you've got to say, but don't try and bamboozle us with fancy words or sentences and stuff like that because it doesn't wash with some of us. That's just my age. Maybe let's say Cameron might find it totally different because he's football manager age. I'm championship manager before all this digital knowledge was.
Your match of the day. She match of the day. That was the next Spectrum game back in the 80s or something.
I'm the tennis beep beep.
So apart from the fact he was I don't know what do you call that, bamboozled or something like that in terms of
bamboozled.
Cameron, do you know I hear this a lot that Russell Martin criticises his fans, you know, and it's one of those things. I think because people are obviously on him. You pick up certain sentences, you pick up certain words, you pick up certain language. Now, he talked about how relieved he was, he talked about how much he wants the job, how much he loves the job, and all that sort of stuff goes with it. But people don't give a flying monkeys about that because they pick up on their view is that he doesn't like the fans, and that just perpetuates each and every game.
Yeah, I think that stems back from when he played for us when he was a player, doesn't he? We didn't like him then, we don't like him now. So I think there's a little bit of that, to be honest. Because I remember, didn't he? We were trying to sign Morgan Whittaker. Was it from Swansea or Plymouth Argyle? And he was the gaffer there at the time, and he even mentioned that. He said, "I'm not very well liked up there." So I remember him saying that in a press conference. So I think he knows the fans don't like him, and I don't think he particularly cares. We said it with Raskin, Martin as well. Martin will do what's best for Russell Martin. He doesn't want to be with us any longer than he has to be. He only took the job because he thought if he could do well, that's a springboard into the Premier League. So I don't think he particularly cares what we think. He's picking up a nice, big, fat, juicy check at the end of the week. He's still in a job. He may be getting reassurances from the ownership group. Who knows? But I don't think he cares.
And that's the thing, Gary. Sorry if but that's the thing. What Cameron said. A lot of people think the same. He doesn't care about the fans. Whereas other managers have said things about the fans, and it might only be just words. But if he say it, the fans a lot, right, he gets it. He gets the club. He gets us. But Martin's not come out to even try to help himself.
It's like nowadays with young players. I think the difference between eras is, for you guys anyway, when you had like Walter Smith and before that, those guys didn't have media training, so they spoke as a fan. Nowadays, for young players, even when they're at professional football clubs, they go through media training to face the media, and they're given what to say. And I've noticed that if you look at Graham Murty, for instance, he was another one, and Beale, they were the same. Their interviews were really hard to watch, and they just gave you sentences and key words and things out of nowhere that just didn't make any sense. And Martin's the same, and I think that's just a new breed of particularly managers in England anyway that are coming through, English coaches. I just think that's what's happening.
Yeah, and you're right. The media training bit's part of it. I mean, nobody wants to make out there holding the badge and doing all the sort of stuff that goes with it. People don't buy into that nowadays either. And I suppose the one that's often talked about is Tav in it, where I'm disappointed. But he says the same thing because as you say, the media training means it's the same scenario that people say over and over again. I don't want to focus too much on Russell Martin because I was just want to pick up on the fact that obviously there was lots of booing towards him. But I think that for us, the focus for tonight should move more on the fact we won the game, some of the play around the game, some of the things that happened during the game, and some of the I suppose the positives, but also the negatives that came from it. So, Cameron, in terms of team first, there was 3 changes. You had Ant-Man, Barron, and Miovski coming in for Dio, Moore, and Chermiti. Yeah. So happy enough with the team. Any other changes you went with?
Not really. It was probably the strongest one maybe we could have put out, I guess, on current form. I don't think there's much you change about it. The Chermiti one on Thursday was a bizarre one, to be honest. I don't know why that happened. I don't think Chermiti was ever going to start the game at Livy just purely because it's a plastic pitch. So even if he'd have scored a hat-trick on Thursday, I don't think he'd have started. But yeah, it's probably the strongest team that he could have put out there, to be honest. I mean, I missed the first 10-15 minutes, but by all accounts, we started crap. We were awful, we were slow, we were doing the usual stuff. But then we then grew into the game. And I think the problem that we have is Miovski has a chance, doesn't he? Early on in the game, should put that away at 1-0. You get Tav's goal, you got Tav's penalty, and then you've got Cornelius's one. So potentially you're going in at half-time 3-0 up, and I think that maybe gives a different feel to the game. But I think the problem that we've got is we don't create enough, and when we do create, we're not clinical at all. And then when you go 1-0 up and you stays at 1-0 at Livy, you just know something's going to happen. And it did. And it takes a set piece, annoyingly, because for a long, long time, I never saw us score a set piece for years. And now out of nowhere, it's always seemed to score. So it's good to see in that respect. But what we saw yesterday was Russell Martin fail to adapt again to the physicality of Scottish football.
So let's go at the first 10 minutes then. Livingston came out of traps quite quickly, as you'd expect at home, and they often do. They always have done that. Stevie May, who you would recognise Stevie May if MD didn't see Stevie, it was not the same guy. He had to do a double take. His long hair gone and bald head. So he has a chance. Good save from Butland. And probably after about 10 minutes, I think it was Miovski misses a sitter effectively. He's clean through, should score. Really good to play by Raskin and really good chance. The sort of thing we've been looking for them to do, that quick movement, quick passes and ball dinked over the top for Miovski to run through.
Yeah, it was a great ball. Raskin put it over the top, and all the players we had in the park, you probably hope it would fall to him, didn't you? But as soon as it bounced, he was leaning back. You knew as soon as he had it was going over the bar. And I'd have put my house on him scoring that, because it's a chance that he usually puts away. You see him do it many times before, and I don't know if it's lack of confidence. I don't know if it maybe he was expecting a forward ball, Gary, because we don't usually play balls forward. I'm not 100% sure, but no, I should put it away. I mean, I thought we were getting the ball, Gary. After the first 10 minutes, I thought we were moving the ball very quickly forward. We were using the channels. I thought Ant-Man and Gisama, who weren't great overall, but I thought they were getting at the fullbacks quite a lot in the first half. And yeah, the final ball let them down at times, but I thought they were getting at their fullbacks and they were stretching Livy a bit and we were moving the ball quicker. The problem in the middle of the park is we have nobody who gets the ball and turns in the second half. I mean, but the first half Raskin was turning, trying to play it forward. Barron was moving forward. We actually thought he played well in the first half, Conor Barron. And Asgard, I like Taylor Asgard, but I thought the whole game passed him by. Thought he was very slow, tedious, and I thought he was failing to make an impact. But I thought Raskin and Barron were getting it forward quickly. I thought Gisam was getting, even though his delivery at times is poor and he doesn't lift his head up when he hits the byline. But I thought they were trying to do what they were doing, and we were moving. We were stretching Livy a bit, and we had a few chances. But the problem is we don't do that often enough because they start to revert. Because if you're not locked in that spell, Gary, between that we spell with a good 15-20 minutes, Suter and Cornelius didn't have a lot of the ball. And that's when we look good. It's when they have more of the ball, especially Suter, we start to go back to where we played. And I thought that's what we've done in the second half, probably because of the technical switch maybe with Livy. But we could have scored a couple of goals in the first half. And that would listen, if we did, that finishes the game for me. But we only one goal ahead at half time. You always give the other side a bit of hope, don't you? Because you know how scared you are or how nervous you get when you concede.
Yeah. So, Cameron, in terms of tactics, right? So, the Scott's saying they played a bit more direct. I think after the first 10 minutes, probably for the rest of the first half, to be fair, they moved the ball quicker. They were playing it between the lines more. I think one of the interesting things when I was watching it is Tav was effectively playing central midfield, which meant they'd overloaded the midfield, which meant there was space for Ant-Man and Gassama staying tight on either side. And to be fair, it did look tactical. It was deliberately designed to overload that midfield, and it meant that Gassama or Ant-Man, probably more Gassama, could sort of played that ball 2 or 3 times over. Because Nugas probably doesn't look he's kind of got that ball in him as much, but they were getting that space mainly because we packed the midfield, and meant Livingston didn't have a chance to get out everywhere really.
Well, that's the way that he wants the team to set up. That's always has been. Even when Aaron's was starting at left back, was the fullbacks come inside to create those central overloads. The wingers stay wide and pin the fullbacks in, and then the eights sit in and occupy the half spaces. But the issue is the pace of the passing. It was a lot more direct, like you say. It was just getting it straight out to the wingers, because I felt sorry for Ant-Man these first games that he started, because the ball was getting to him too slow and he had 3 players around him. So it was only going one way, which is backwards. Whereas against Livy, they started to press us and played a bit of a high line. So it meant we could be a bit more direct. My only issue was second half when they switched. We just kind of went back to the same stuff, which is the issue. I think that a lot of fans have that directness in our play just wasn't there. But the chance for Miofsky is a perfect example of what he's looking for. But the problem with Martin is that his system's too patient. If you listen to him in interviews, he relies on waiting for gaps, constantly moving the ball and waiting for opportunities to come. You don't get that against low blocks. They just stay where they are. So I think that's the only issue which he's coming up against. Now, I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope we can see more of what we saw in those 25 minutes of the first half on a more consistent basis, because he talks about it in his interview, didn't he, where he said we had a good, 45 minutes against Hibs, or a good half hour against Hibs, had another good half hour. So it's like, yeah, but again, football's 90 minutes, pal. Do it for 1/3 of the match, you're not going to win many games. So, yeah.
No, I agree. Consistency is probably the bit you're seeing these tiny spells when sometimes it's only for a very short time in the game. Sometimes, like yesterday, it was maybe for a little bit more, and people may say it's Livingston and so on, but that's part of the game. So, Scott, the first goal comes 23 minutes when Gassama has a woeful cross, to be honest with you. Ant-Man does really well to cushion it back, and it's kind of half overhead kicks, come acrobatic efforts from Tav, who, as I was saying, from playing central midfield, got himself in the box and finished it really well.
It was a very good finish for Tavernier, I have to say. Done really well to get his leg up that high for the kickoff, but it was really good finish. Ant-Man done well to keep it in, and it's basically what we deserved anyway, Gary. I thought in that spell of the game, I thought we deserved that, and I think yesterday with Tav gets a lot of criticism. I've given him criticism. We all have. Probably the only person that doesn't give him criticism is yourself. But
I'm right.
I do think yesterday, I'm not saying he was fantastic yesterday, but I thought especially in the second half, he tried to drive us on. Do you know that way? Even though he can't get up and down the park like he did, but I thought he tried to keep us going, try to go. Especially his head coming down when he missed the penalty, but he never. And I thought he did yesterday to try to grab the rest of the team with stuff and to push us forward. So I give him credit for
that. Yeah. I can. In terms of the finish, I thought it was an excellent finish, but really good play by Ant-Man. And it's what's his second assist now then, despite him not contributing much in the game.
It is, yeah, and they're just glimpses. That was just a knockdown header. So, yeah, it was a good team. It was a good goal, good finish by Tav. He gets a lot of criticism, but you have to say, really, he's kind of been one of the few this season who's kind of tried to drag us through games on a consistent basis. And you kind of beg the question, if he was in a team full of like people like Richard Goffs and Terry Butchers, we'd probably be looking at him and going, what a player. And I think it's one of them where when he goes, inevitably, we won't realise what he did for us. And I think you're seeing that at the minute, where his attitude is trying to drive us on. I just wish we saw that from some other players, because it looks like their heads go down too easily.
Yeah,
sorry, Gary, but do the heads go down, or are they told to move back into a certain system? Because I think when they're given a bit of freedom, we play better. But I think when we're told back into that system, it's like they get frustrated, and then some of them don't like it, and they're not giving you the same performance they do when they're out that system.
Yeah, well, Martin's style is a variation of Guardiola's, which is all based on positional play, players holding positions and being patient. And that's fine when you're spending 60, 70 million quid on football players who can do that, who can play one touch, two touch. But when you're kind of at the level we are, you're not quite going to get the footballers to execute that. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing players who just haven't got the technical ability to play these high risk passes that Martin wants. And I think that's the issue that we've got at the minute. It relies too much on positional play, and there's no individuality in the squad at all.
I'm going to come back to that after we've kind of talked about the game, because I do think there's an interesting concept as to how, I mean, a lot of people say it's Martin that's making them play this way in the second half, for example, or if you listen to Aaron's, is it something to do with the confidence, that whole kind of belief, the whole stuff of adjusting the eye? But there's lots of different reasons. So I think we'll maybe delve into that at the end and just kind of, or after the game, just to see if there's a bit more to it. Because I'm pretty sure it's not as simple as just Martin tells him to go and defend in the second half and no push. That seems a little bit too straightforward to me. We then get penalties, Cameron. You know, there's a short pull on Raskin, ball in from Tav. It's one of those ones that there's lots of short pulling in the box, but when VR or notices it, that they're going to pull up and give a penalty, despite the fact obviously Raskin does go down, but if you don't go down, you don't get the penalty anyway.
Yeah, that's just what VAR is, isn't it? Just all the little small things which you could get away with 5-10 years ago, you don't get away with now. So yeah, it's a penalty. It's soft, but most VAR penalty decisions are. I just wish Tav could have converted it. Would have been nice. Would have made things a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and it wasn't a great penalty. It was in the sense that it was too low. It was down the middle, too low. I mean, the keeper's a really good save as well.
Yeah, well, it's one of those that I use, like, as a keeper myself. It's one of them where middle ones, keepers generally, especially when they're 1-0 down, they want that big save. They want to go left or right. So putting it down the middle is always a general sort of safety option, but he should put it higher. It's a good save by the keeper because he's just left his leg out. But if he's going down the middle, he's got to put it high because the keeper's not saving that. But is what it is. He's missed a few before. But
and they will miss more again probably as the season goes on. That's what happens with every penalty taker in the world. The rest of the first half, Scott, you know, we have a couple of good. Barron's a really good effort. I think Gassama's not a good crosser of the ball, I think it's fair to say, but what he is good at is either cutting inside and shooting or cutting inside and kind of laying the ball back to the edge of the box. It seems to be, but in terms of the actual going down the line crossing, that's probably not where it is. So Barron has an effort, it goes maybe a side, a foot further to the right, and it's in the back of the net. Cornelius then is a goal disallowed. But in terms of, goal disallowed for handball. I'm going to get thoughts on this because this puzzled me, right? A goal disallowed for handball, but despite the fact that's a subjective decision, whereas he was actually offside anyway, why would you not just give that as offside?
No, I agree with you. I think it was offside. I don't think it touched his arm myself. I thought it hit him in the chest, but that's just my opinion. But he was offside, yeah.
But they did give it for handball. They didn't give it for offside.
I know.
I'm assuming they'd have checked. If it wasn't handball, they would have checked for the offside as well and then given it for offside. So maybe it was just a process of elimination. I don't know.
It was a strange way of doing it. You know, I think you go for the factual decision first before you go for the one that's maybe a little bit debatable. But so for the rest of the first half, Scott, we are not peppering their goal, but with more chances, more shots at goal, more possession, probably as you say, quicker play. And generally, I was watching a game with my dad and my daughter. My dad's notoriously hard to please with, so he thought, you know, like he could see things that were quite good in that game. The ball was moving quite quickly. He was content.
I don't know if I'm stuck here, Gary.
Fine, I can hear you.
No, listen, the first half, like, I mean, you hear people say we were great. I thought we were good. I thought we were decent. I didn't think, I'm not going to go over a minute and say we were absolutely tremendous. We're playing Livingston in the day with the crowd 3/4 of Rangers fans, so we should be going there and doing really well. But I thought we were good. It's puzzling to see, but how he said, and I was getting back to Russell Martin, this leads on for the Hibs game. As if I got a bit Genk, is that just a game he's not going to remember? But no, I thought the first half we were decent. I thought we could have scored more goals and we were unlucky not to get more goals. Because I think if we did get 2 or even 3, the game's done. I think the second one finishes the game. But getting at 1-0, you always get that fear no matter who you're playing against. Never used to have that fear, Gary, getting at 1-0. You always think, right, we'll hold on. But this season, 1-0 up's not enough for Rangers. And listen, I thought Barron done okay in the first half. Raskin was in and out of the game, but I thought he was trying to get forward. Like I said earlier, Asgard's not been playing well at all the last couple of games. I don't know if it's a position that doesn't suit him or if he's finding it difficult in the Scottish game. I'm not sure what it is because he's.
What do you think it is then? Because I mean, it's not his position, because that's the position he wants to play. He said numerous times that the left number 8's the one that suits him. But every time I watched him yesterday, he's probably on the halfway line. He's facing his own goal, and it's all very safe. He doesn't the driving forward, attacking creative player doesn't seem to be doing that at this moment in time.
He's not Gary. I think he looks very laboured. But as I've seen him before, he's always in the goal. He's always in the half turn. He's trying to get forward. He's creating. He's shooting. But I think everything's too slow with Rangers. He's trying to keep things simple, and it's no Othello's game. So unless you change the way we play, or you change where he is, I think it might take him longer to settle. And if it doesn't, then he's going to end up maybe having to leave him out the team. But I don't know what it is, because there's a player there for me, and I think I don't know what the manager is. To be honest with you, I think he's going to have to look at himself. But I mean, he's a big boy, he's a strong boy, but for some reason he's playing within himself.
And Cameron, you might have seen him down south, but I mean, he's obviously technically gifted. He's 6'1", 6'2", physical. But he looks, I don't know if it's nervous isn't the right word, but it just looks as though he's not really taking the game by the scruff of the neck, I suppose, fair to say.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an element of that, but he's still a young boy. People forget that. He's not, he's not like 28, 29. He's young, but I think he's what, 22?
22.
Yeah, 22. So it might take him time to adjust, but that's where, it's with a topic of conversation for last year. That's where your leaders come in. Mm-hmm. People who've been there, somewhat, a leader in the middle of the park, just to sort of grip him and just say, just relax, play your stuff. And I think that's part of it. But I don't think the midfield functions very well. And I don't think a game away from home in the league, I don't think is a game for him. I really don't. I think away from home in the league, you're looking to bypass the midfield, not play through it, and you pick up your second balls, because all that will happen is the home team will just crowd the midfield, which is what we've come up against whenever we played from home, and we can't get through, and we just turn the ball over. So I think there's an element of, it's a bit similar to Rothwell, where when Rothwell played as a 6 for us, and we said, oh, he's all out of puff. When he was at Leeds, he didn't play as a 6, he played as an 8, and they dominated the ball. So he'd never had to do that much running. So I think sometimes when you're playing players, but you're not utilising them, or you're not playing to their strength, I think that's probably something similar with Asgard. I think he plays better with someone near him, but I think he plays better when he's got big pockets of space, because he's playing in tight areas, which if he's a big lad, he's just getting doubled up on all the time. And because he's a young boy, he's not got the experience to deal with that. So I don't know. It's a tough. I do think he'll come good, but I just think there just needs to be a little bit of patience. But I don't think he's a starting midfielder.
Yeah. So Andrew's not having you with the young boy thing. I think. I mean, he's not young. He's 22, 23 in terms of football. What I would say is, I read an article in the Rangers Review, which is obviously really detailed these things, and he said he was quite a late developer in football and through the age group. So he's not that.
He was a very small, scrawny kid. He was a very small, scrawny kid when he was at Wigan, when he was coming through the academy, and it was his technical ability that got him through. And then physically, he became a monster in like the last sort of 2-3 years. Put on muscle and he just shot up. So yeah, I don't know, the young boy thing, I think it's difficult. 22, 23, you come to an environment like Rangers. Don't forget, he's come from Luton, where they just got relegated. So you've gone from a team who lose every week and their expectations aren't high, and all of a sudden he's at a team where, if you're not playing well, the fans let you know. It can be quite intimidating, I would imagine, for a 22-year-old.
Yeah. Scott, so getting to second half, and this is a chance for you to be really critical as much as you want, in terms of, so we started slow in the second half and got slower, potentially. As Cameron said, we didn't move the ball quickly. Livingston weren't doing enough a lot. I think Stevie made a shot at goal. There wasn't a lot happening in the game, but then after about 70 minutes, they get, apparently there's a 6-foot plus guy standing at the edge of the middle of the 6-yard box with nobody deciding to mark him. Cross comes in, and a pretty straightforward goal. I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to miss that myself.
No, Gary, it was a very, very poor defending, wasn't it? Big Salah standing, and you're thinking, come on, how's nobody picking him up? At least they're trying to put him off it, but no, But before they scored, you could see it coming. It's like we were getting deeper as well, and I'm not sure why. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously when the players cross that white line, I mean Cameron said he plays the game, so a lot of that's on the players themselves, and they've got to say, right, we're too deep, push up, and that's coming for your captain, midfielders, whatever. But I just thought we invited it on. Me and Livingston only full of technical players, but they were full of running and we were full of fight. And I thought we couldn't cope with that.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Stephen May done a lot of running, by the way, and I'm not a big Stephen May fan, but I thought he'd done putting a hell of a lot of work up there himself. I thought they were trying I'm saying Wigan because you mentioned that they were trying Livingston to get forward, but they were getting the chances. The boy taking a lot of running as well, and they brought up this big, massive guy. I can't remember his name, but he's got a big, tall guy as well. And
The goalie or something like that, is it that guy, the striker?
yeah, and they knew we were starting to panic at the back because we weren't keeping the ball well. We were giving it away, and we were kind of sitting in each other's laps because we were getting well bundled up. So you could see it coming, and I know, but Martin has to do something to stop this happening. It happens in every game, Gary. Doesn't it? It's not just yesterday, it's happened in every game we played this season.
So let's get into that, right? Because it's great. Well, there's a few comments in there. Say it's Martin's asked him to sit back or so forth. What's that effect? I suppose I find it difficult to believe Russell Martin's after a good first half said going back out, sit there defensively, pass the ball slower, all the stuff goes on. What do you think is causing that? Because we are dropping the tempo. Now, is that a player thing? Is it a confidence thing? Is it a tactical thing? It's hard to understand for me why that would be the case.
Probably a mixture of everything, to be honest with you. But I think a lot of it does come to the way we're coached, the way he wants to play the game. I think he wants to have possession of the ball and us manipulate the ball so we can bring them out to break in behind, stuff like that. So I think everything we do always comes back to the manager. So you can't cut him any slack, apart from maybe the players at times have to spot it themselves, move the ball quicker, get up the park quicker, maybe get somebody up part to hold the ball up and take a wee bit of relief off midfielders and the defence. But none of that was happening until he started throwing shit at a wall. But none of that really happened in the second half. And you can see Livingston, and when they scored the equaliser, Gary, I was standing up in the living room walking about. I was up the stairs, down the stairs, and I'm saying to Anne-Marie, they're going to get a second. I was actually that confident they were going to get a second. I was starting to get really, really angry, do you know what I mean? Just because the way we had played in the first half, I thought we were decent, we were winning. I said, this is happening again. Mm-hmm. And I actually missed the Rangers goal because I was up the stairs in a bad mood. So I came back down the stairs and I seen Aaron's running away celebrating. And I was quite happy we scored, but I was still angry because the way this team make you feel.
Mm-hmm. So Cameron, so what's your thoughts? I mean, I'm very confused as to why. I mean, the game's just turned. I mean, all season we've had spells, one good half potentially, then a bad second half, or generally it's been the first half that's been really poor, then a decent second half. What do you think's causing it?
Well, regarding the Livy game, I think first half because they were a bit more aggressive in their press and they actually came at us. The gaps which Martin waits for once his players were a lot more obvious, hence why we were more direct. Second half, when Livingston decided to sit in and sit deeper, those gaps were very, very rare, which is why you saw the more slow, turgid football that we usually play. So I think it goes back to the manager. There's clearly in the training during the week, something is not. There's poor preparation going on in my eyes. You know you're going to come up against low blocks, and the easiest way to play against a low block is to play quick and to be direct. And we're not seeing that at all. We're seeing low intensity. And then in terms of the defensive line, I think part of that is to cover the space between them and the goalkeeper. Would be my only guess. And maybe he's gone from one extreme where at one point we wouldn't even have anybody on our halfway line because they were so high. We would get done with one ball over the top. He's gone to one extreme and just gone, right, well, let's just drop 20 yards. But the problem with that is when you clear the ball, you can't get up the pitch and there's nobody there to pick up second ball, so it comes straight back again.
Do you think then, Cameron, that's potentially also a player thing with confidence? I mean, the confidence obviously is low. They've been battered from pillar to post as a club. Do you think there's an element that's the natural, when you play football, as you said, the natural reaction is to take a few steps back when you're trying to consolidate a lead?
100%. Do it all the time. I do it when we're 1-0 up and we've got like 30, 40 minutes to go. I want us to sit deep. I don't like massively playing sweeper keeper. I'm not built for it. So it might even be from Butland, just drop 10 yards, give them that little bit extra protection. But also if you're up against a team who likes to play a long ball, it makes sense to drop. But what you're supposed to do in those instances, if a fullback's got the ball or a centre half or whatever, and as soon as they go to straight away before he kicks it. But what seems to be with us, we're 25 yards before he's even kicked it. So then all that happened was with Livy, they just kind of, the centre forwards just dropped a little bit deeper to pick up the ball.
Yeah.
So,
gaps.
Yeah.
So, Scott, the last 15 minutes then, or last 20 minutes, we include the 8 minutes, we go crazy. Basically, we bring on subs left, right and centre. Tav goes to left centre-back, Suter's right centre-back, Aaron's is at right back. We don't play with a left back at all, I don't think, if I remember it. So, after Magoma and Canillo used to go off injured. To be fair, if things were going well and things were reasonably good, this would be that's how you win a league result, when you actually battle in the last 15 minutes and get that 2-1 win. You know, when things are going bad, it's throwing shit at the ball, as you said there. So, and the truth's probably somewhere in the middle. So, but the last 15 minutes did dominate. Lots of crosses, lots of free kicks, lots of corners, and eventually Max Aarons, who has not done anything in every single game he's played, and even the 15-20 minutes he's been on there was having a bit of a nightmare, then scores a really nice finish.
He did, Gary, took it really well. It came to him, didn't it? I think it was a wee flick on for us. I think he got a flick down the eye. Who wins quite a lot of balls for being a very small guy, but it's not a wee flick. I took it well, it came in quite quickly, and he finished it really well, because the goalie didn't have a chance. Had the net before he even realised. And that's what we were needing, and it was more of a relief, I think, to get that victory, because I think when's this first victory going to come? And like I said, I don't think it's going to set us on the path to unbeaten run and win the league, but we needed to get a victory in the league, especially at this time. I mean, it's been 14 games or something we've played. I'm not saying league games, but it's now going into October, and this is that we're just getting our first league win. So it was good to get, but I'll still go back to manager. The system's no great, and I know he talks about systems, and I don't see a system myself, but the way he wants to play in, Cameron said, Pep style. Pep's changed his style that many times, and Martin's still going for Pep's first book he wrote, but he's probably done another 17 books out since. So I think it's time to kind of move forward a bit. Because to be honest with you, Gary, see when we're playing quick and we're playing decent, there's some of the players in that part you think they're actually not bad footballers. There's something there. But it's when we're tedious and slow, it's like we look awful. And I don't think the players enjoy that. Yeah. But I do agree with you a bit. I think a lot of them lack confidence because they're scared to make a mistake in case maybe they're dropped, or they're scared to make a mistake in case they're shouted at with fans, or they're just, maybe they don't want it, so we're giving it to their teammate. You make a mistake, I don't want to make a mistake. It could be a lot of different things, but I don't feel there's enough confidence in the team. But what I'll say, yesterday, when we did score the goal, there was still some fight there, which I've not seen previously. And I know I will repeat myself and say it is only Livingston, but it's still good to see there was some fight there, because they could have just folded at one each and just stuck it out. But because they made the changes, and I thought actually Barami done really well when he came on, I have to say, because he was booked and made a really important interception after that. But I just think there was still a bit of fight there, which we failed to see in some games. But I thought yesterday we did see some fight for some of them.
No, I think that's a difficult thing. If you take it in isolation, winning 2-1 in the 94th minute, there's a bit of fight there. You've flung it, and that's a really positive. But the problem is, you don't take a game in isolation. Look at the last 6 league games, and it's still not positive. That's the challenge you've got. Cameron, I think the interesting thing, Max Aarons done an interview, press conference afterwards, and he talked about, I think somebody said there, about how he was looking to pay back the fans and pay back the club after the send off against Bruges. But he also made a couple of interesting comments about, I suppose, about adapting to the fans, the pressure, all the sort of stuff that goes with it, and how he's trying to get used to all that. In a nice way, he wasn't trying to be critical, but he was kind of saying, trying to get used to all the stuff that goes with it. And I wonder, as you said earlier on, that Tav, maybe Raskin as well, and other guys that probably drove us more forward in these games, they're used to it. The newer ones are the ones that seem as though they're struggling more to adapt.
Yeah, I think some of these players probably look at it as, you should step out on that pitch every day and want to win. I don't see any problem with it. So I understand it takes time to adapt to things, but I mean he's not young, is he really, by footballer's standard? He's what, 25, 26?
25,
and he's just what, played at Seville for a season? You can't tell me at Seville their fans don't demand that you win every game. You know, they were at one point, I think a couple of years ago, they won Europa League, what, 3-4 years in a row?
It was Valencia, was it not? Not Valencia, was it?
Oh, it was Seville, was it not? Sevilla? I can't remember.
Maybe it was.
Or was it Bilbao? I can't remember. It was where Unai Emery managed them.
Someone split up.
Yeah.
No, I think he was at Valencia, was it not? Was it Seville? I thought it was Valencia, was it?
I can't remember. Someone look it up anyway.
Tell us in the chat.
But it's not that. I don't think for him, Valencia.
Slight rosy stuff.
But again, he's not young Seville. They'd have been told win every game. So I understand that if you're coming from a team where you're relegation fodder, that's different. But he's played at a decent level, and he can't. I think that's a bit of for a seasoned professional. I think that's a bit of a weak excuse to explain bad performances. To be honest, I mean the Bruges game, we all thought he chucked it.
Yeah,
we all completely thought he just didn't fancy playing in that game at all. And I want him to do well. I mean, he's a straight loan anyway, so he's not gonna be with us past the season. But it does seem strange that we signed someone like Aarons on a straight loan, and we all thought, brilliant, he'll be a solid right back. But from a mentality perspective, he looks very, very weak. Very, very weak.
So I suppose to take that further, Scott, so if we look at Asgard, you mentioned he looks as though he's probably playing a bit safe. I think it's been fair to say Aarons has looked out his depth so far. Ant-Man probably to a degree as well. Over the last couple of weeks, they've looked like they've been struggling to, I don't know, just get used to the whole environment, stuff that goes with it. And that takes us back to the kind of confidence. It takes us back to how much is it a tactical issue, how much is it a Martin issue, or how much is it just the players really start needing to settle before we actually get anywhere? And nobody knows. I'm not expecting you to know the answer, Scott, but if you know it, please tell us.
No, it's a lot of different things, Gary, isn't it? You don't know what's on in a dressing room, actually. It's a lot of different things that could be affecting them, and there's a lot of superstitions in dressing rooms as well. So, listen, just to say, Seville won the Europa League in 20 and 23, so they have won it a few times in the past couple of years, just so to let Cameron know that he wasn't too far away with Seville, but or Sevilla, what you want to call him. But I think Aarons is a decent player. I just think he's probably never played in a pressure environment like this, where a draw is even not good enough. And I thought his interview was okay, to be honest with you, because he didn't come out and apologise and said, that's me, made up for what I've did. He just came out and said that hopefully that's a wee bit starts to pay back Mera, which he knows he's still, and he said I've still to do other stuff. But I think the Bruges game, even if he didn't get sent off, I think we're going to get battered anyway, Gary. But he just didn't want to make him the scapegoat for doing what he did. He didn't help matters, to be fair. But I don't think he's the only one that's struggling with confidence. But like I say again, I mean, they did show a bit of fight yesterday, but I will go back and say that comes from the management. It will, and it has to come from the management, because you know yourself, of a few players don't like systems or don't like. You can see it in Man United, man, they're just a shambles. Total shambles. I don't know why he's still here. You see it at other clubs where players and the manager disagree and stuff, and it starts maybe 1 or 2, and it can be petty things, but then when it goes on to tactics in football, a lot of these players, like, I'm better at this position, I'm better at that position, and then the manager tell me to do something they don't know what to do, but they're trying it, and they feel they're given 100%, but they feel they're not giving what they should be given, because that's not their game, and that's not the way they want to play. It's all football is very complicated. What it is, when you started watching it as youngsters, it's more too much involved in the game for my liking. It's just not a case. When I coached, it was a case I get the boys out there to play. Now there's hundreds of stuff involved in this basic game of football. So, but I do feel there's a lot of different things, but I do feel it all comes back to Russell Martin and the way he wants to play. I think if he mixed it up more, if he was more direct, if you've seen in English, watch English Premiership at the moment, and for a league it was technically good and slow, and all the passing it done over the last few seasons, everything's just long throws, set pieces, long balls. I mean, I was watching Carragher earlier on before that Everton game started, and he was saying a lot of goals are getting scored. A lot of teams are now doing long throws. How many people are starting to get the road the lap thing for Stoke, for Tony Pulis 4 years ago? Football just kind of changed again, isn't it? And I think that's the way it goes. Sometimes it's the Barcelona style 4 years ago, which Martin still tried to play, but that's evolved to something else. So I think he maybe has to mix it up. And I don't think it works in Scottish football, what he's trying to do. I do agree with Cameron. I think a lot of teams sit that deep when you're passing the ball side to side. They're not really going anywhere, because you're waiting on them coming out, and not many do. Hearts didn't really do it at Ibrox, and they beat his Livingston second half, didn't really do it. So I think he has to kind of mix up. I think maybe the long ball's the way to go. So I think we should look at. I think we should somebody should buy my book of Tony Pulis and just say mix it up a wee bit. Here's what Tony done at Stoke.
So if we do get rid of Russell Martin, what you want Sean Dyche in, clearly then.
I'll take Tony Pulis. I think he's a better manager.
do you think? I don't know how to say this without actually alienating the fan base here, but we talk about confidence of the players, Cameron. Do you think the fans need to take some responsibility in some ways? And I know all the ire directed at Martin, but it must be a challenging environment. You can understand why confidence drops when there's abuse getting hurled left, right, and centre across the stadium.
Of course, there is. You're playing on the pitch. You've got 40,000 people calling you a diddy. So stuff like that. It's going to get bound to get to you, isn't it? So I do think there's an element of that, and you're only going to get confidence from winning, aren't you, and playing well. If you're a striker, you'll get confidence from scoring. For midfield, you'll get confidence from putting tackles in, making passes, assisting. Defenders, you'll get confidence from getting clean sheets, as with a goalie. At the minute, we're not doing that. We're not getting clean sheets all that much. We're not scoring enough goals. So confidence comes in two ways, from winning and also from players playing well. And there's not enough players playing well. There's kind of the same ones. Raskin, Gassama, Tav, I'd argue, and Butland. That's it. We need more than that, playing well on a consistent basis. But on the fans thing, it's just one of those. It annoys me a little bit. I get people annoyed, but you should support the club, not the man. I get it. It frustrates people, but just support the team. We scored a last-minute winner, and immediately 20 seconds after, instead of just cheering the team on, it's straight back onto the manager. So I can imagine it's a difficult environment for the players, because they're probably looking at it going, just scored a 90th minute winner, first win of the season. So kind of enjoy it for a little bit, and straight back onto the manager. So I do think we have a part to play in terms of creating a non-toxic environment, if that makes sense, for the players to enjoy playing in.
Yeah, Scott, me and you go to the games, obviously, right? So that's we've been there. So I do think it's a tough one. I do get people want to protest and want to make their noise clear, but I'm unconvinced how beneficial it is during a game. And certainly, even listening to the Livingston game yesterday, a lot of the time the fans were quite positive, other than a few wee spells. But the only way you're going to build confidence is potentially. We've seen with the European run a couple of years ago that the fans helped carry the team all the way to the final because of that whole energy. So, and it's difficult when you're not winning, but I suppose I'm saying, how do we get out of this rut whereby at the end of the game we're still booing Russell Martin despite scoring a last-minute winner?
I didn't bother me yesterday, Gary, because he did celebrate a winner, and then they cheered about Russell Martin. I think the water under the bridges went that far. They don't like him. End of story. And I think the fans that went there, there's a lot of fans that had tickets that didn't want to go, but they went there. I think they did back the team. They were always singing yesterday, back the team, but they don't like the manager. But I think they back the team well. But Rangers have always been a pressure environment. I was at a game in Cammy Fraser gave a Vicky to I think it was either Brimlone and the Govan when he scored years ago. I think in the 80s sometime, but he ran out of me like that because the fans were giving him dogs abuse back then. So it's not like it's changed to this manager for the last year. This has been going on in football for years. It's just now the environment's different, the culture's different. People think fans should go and sit in their hands, and if you don't like it, accept it. But that's not the way teams like Rangers work. Some other teams do. Some other teams will go and accept what's happening, and then they'll think the club will change it themselves. And like I say, Man United are an example of that. But Rangers are totally different. If you don't like somebody, the fans will let you know. And it's just the way, as a football club, we are. Some fans won't. Some fans will think, he'll get sacked eventually. It doesn't matter. But other fans will be like, no, I don't like him. I want him to go yesterday. Do you know what I mean? That's the way it goes. And then if some sing, it's like an Nico Raskin thing. A lot of fans sung about him when he was dropped, but a lot of fans never. Do you know what I mean? But then more sung because they knew that was getting to Russell Martin as well. So it's just the way it is. It's the way the fans are at the moment. And the only thing that stops this happening is going on a big long run of games or get rid of him. I don't think there's a middle ground. I think the middle ground's away. I think that's long gone. And it's a shame, but I do. But I also go back to the fact that I don't think Russell Martin's helped himself at points, but Yeah, some fans probably, because they never wanted him for the start, just didn't accept him for then. And because he's lost a few games, they've just said, nah, enough's enough. But I don't think it's middle ground anymore. I think that's went. So it's went for this extreme here to this extreme here. And I think the middle's just long gone.
Yeah. It's certainly never been as bad. I mean, whether it was Phil Clement or Van Bronckhorst or whoever, Beale, whoever it was, it's probably not been as much dislike for the one individual. We might have not liked him as management style, but it's certainly in terms of that one individual. As you say, unless you win games, and if he does win games and wins many games, fans should be satisfied. If he doesn't, he'll be out at the door anyway.
I think he will, Gary. See, the thing is, see if he does go on a run, every game he wins, there'll be less and less of it. And then at the end of the season, if he did win the league or win something, he can be one going like that to everybody. Because he's right. But as soon as he's sacked, everybody will be saying, told you so, told you so, told you so. It's the way it is. Everybody wants to be proved right, don't they? No matter what happens, everybody wants to say, I told you so. And then the next guy comes in, and if some folk don't want him, it could be again. But I just think what's happened so far is, I'm not saying it is bad. It's probably the worst I've seen for a manager. But I've seen players get it. I've seen players retaliate. I mean, Windass gave the fans some abuse, but the one I always remember was Cammy Fraser because I was young at the time. McCoy's got a lot of slagging, but I don't even really, I never was the type of person that give abuse back. But I remember him getting it against Dundee because he missed about 60,000 sitters that day, couldn't hit a barn door. I think actually John Brown was playing for Dundee as well, if I remember rightly, but I'm not getting old, so mine might be warped. But I don't know. I think the only thing that saves Martin is one. I think that's the only thing that could save him at this moment in time. I don't mean Europe. I think Europe's a thing we can look at and think, right, I think we're going to struggle in Europa League myself. I really do, which I wouldn't usually say, but I think league-wise, if we can climb up that table and then we can start putting a challenge, winning games, I think the tide could turn.
Yeah.
But it's going to be baby steps for that to happen.
So let's talk Europe then, Cameron. So on Thursday night, we play our second Europa League phase, or whatever it's called, game away to Sturm Graz. Sturm Graz are the second in the Austrian League. I think they lost 2-0 against Midtjylland last week away from home. We've got some injury concerns potentially with Magoma and Cornelius coming off with no left side, arguably, depending on what happens. I suppose looking at the game, confidence, what you would do, potential players, all that sort of stuff.
Well, I think it's just going to be Aaron's at left back and probably Giga back in the back four. But if you can get a result away from home, it maybe lifts the spirits a little bit more. I mean, this will be the first time we'll have gone back-to-back wins. But it's Europe. It's Thursday night. I'm still superstitious. I think anything could happen for us on a Thursday night. It's just something which this club has built on for the last couple of years. So who knows? But it's a winnable game. I really do think it's a winnable game. I think Genk was probably the most winnable one, and we blew that. But it's a lottery at this point with us. But I do just have a superstition with Thursday nights, to be honest.
What would you do in terms of team lineup then? If you're looking at there's a particular changes you'd make, obviously Dio suspended as well. We don't know about Magoma and Cornelius, but if you go off on a Sunday, and it's unlikely you're maybe going to be fit for Thursday.
Well, yeah, obviously the back four I think probably picks itself with the injuries picked up from the weekend. I think the midfield three, I'd go with Raskin, Bayrami, and Cameron if he's fit.
Bayrami's not in the European squad.
Oh, for God's sake. I can never keep track of the European squad. Right, it will have to be Raskin, Byron, and Cameron, I think. I don't think it'll be a game where we pick up a lot of second balls. So I think you need that energy, those legs in there. I think that three give you that. And I think your front three, Miofsky, Gassama, Ant-Man. It's your most obvious one. But yeah.
What about you, Scott? In terms of this game, obviously there's an argument you rotate. Does Chermiti come back in? Do you look at giving Aarons a start? Depending on the injuries, and does Asgard persist in the number 8 role?
I think he has to go with players who are fit, Gary, and he's strong his side out of that. But to me, the Falkirk game is more important. So it is. So I think if anybody's 70% fit, you leave them the weekend. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to just go. You bring Aarons back in.
Are we in a position to do that though? I think if you're in a position of strength, you can do that. But I just wonder if you can get back-to-back wins and you take that into Sunday against Falkirk, would that not be a big boost for the team rather than resting players and potentially get a hiding Thursday?
I agree with you in a way, Callum, but just because of the way we've been playing this season, I think the league's the one he should concentrate on myself. But that's only me. I think he has to concentrate in the league because where we are, what we've done, we've just got our first win. I think if we draw or lose to Falkirk, I think there's a bigger backfire for that than there is for losing a Europa League game.
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, next week could be the time where we see potential movement on the manager front anyway, because we're going into an international break, aren't we? So we've got 2 weeks off with no club football. So you would imagine if they're going to make a decision, they'll make it then, because that gives them plenty of time to get someone in and give them a bit of time. But I just think with having so many games close together, if you're trying to implement a style of football, playing the same team as much as you can, fluidity and familiarity with the players.
Depends who's fit, doesn't it? Like I say, if somebody's no 100% fit, I mean, left back might be a problem if McGorman's out. You don't know how bad the injury is, and I actually thought he's been doing okay. I'm not saying he's been great, but I thought he's been doing okay. But he's the only kind of left back we've got, isn't he? Because NCL is that far out of the picture. He's sitting next to me and you, Gary, at football. Do you know what I mean?
He's on Instagram, isn't he? He's just sitting on Instagram. Pictures, I think.
Which is a shame because there's something there. I mean, then the boy Fernandez, I don't even know where he is. It's like he's still a project for who I don't know. Mike Camille, does he come back in because it's a European game? You just don't know. Obviously, some players on the squad because they've been left out, and he has to play stronger side. But I think he only has to play stronger side if they're fit enough. I think if for touch and go, he leaves them for the weekends. I would rather beat Falkirk than win in Europe myself. I know it doesn't come down to money. It comes to you want to win in Europe, but the league has got to take priority for me. It has to take priority because we can't lose in a league game. We just can't.
I think if it wasn't an international break, I could see mixing up a bit more. I think the fact there isn't an international break coming up, and we don't have a massive European squad anyway. Players with some of if we have got injuries, there's not a lot of options. As you say, potentially we'll get one other defender. You've only got. I think Cameron is maybe still injured as well, so he might not even be available. So there's not a lot you could change anyway other than Moore, Curtis, Jermita, and a few others. Danilo.
Russell Martin's not getting the sack until the board eventually made a mistake. But I see him being here the full season unless something really, really bad happens. Yeah. I don't think he's out the door anytime soon. I just don't. He looks too comfortable for me because he has got a bit of an ego, and I think if he thought he was, you would see it, but he's too comfortable, and I think the board are willing to take the chance and say, we'll give him time because he is their man, and I don't think losing Europe does that. I think losing against Falkirk might be worse than losing Europe.
That's a different kettle of fish. If you lose against Falkirk, the European games are obviously a bit of not a lottery, but they're a finely balanced game for whoever you're playing against. So that probably doesn't dictate his fate unless you get hammering. But certainly the Falkirk game, you can't go away. Falkirk can lose.
To be honest, they may well sack him even if he wins the next 2 games anyway. They may well do. Yeah, American businessmen are typically quite ruthless. So even if he wins the next 2 games, they may have already made their mind up. They're just either interviewing other candidates or just wanting to give him a bit of time with the squad.
Do you honestly think they will sack him? Because I don't see it.
I do genuinely. I think they're ruthless business people. I mean, they won't be swayed by fan reaction, but they will sack him. Yeah, they will sack him if they have to. I generally do believe that. I don't think for a minute they're going to leave him there and let us finish 4th or 5th in the league and say we're transitioning.
And I don't think it's not, as you say, it's maybe not even necessarily about sacking. So it can't be nice for Russell Martin being here. It's not kind of an enjoyable experience for him, and I'm sure it's not an enjoyable experience for the board.
On a humane level, no.
Might just be a case that it doesn't work for either of us. Let's cut our ties.
Well, you seen yesterday, didn't you? You win a game last minute, you want the manager to go over to the away fans and applaud him straight down the tunnel.
Aye.
Didn't even stay out.
Couldn't go over, but he knew that. He said that himself. He couldn't go over because he knew it was focused on him. So he turn on to leave it to the players because the players were celebrating with the fans. Because when we did score, a few of the boys come over they were on the track celebrating because that's how much it meant to them. But once that dust settled, it was straight back to Russell Martin. So I don't ask how we didn't go up there because if you're not up there, the focus is on the players. They're just standing at the side and everybody's just shouting tell Martin to go. It's just the way it is.
I bet the 49ers will have a list of candidates that they'll be interviewing. They'll have had preemptive conversations with them. I can't imagine for a minute they've not spoke to anybody over the last few weeks.
Yeah, there's been. We had a conversation with somebody said there about spoke to Gerrard's agent. I actually have a concern that if it's not Gerrard, and I'm not a big fan of Gerrard, to be honest, in terms of I thought he'd done all right, but I wouldn't be rushing to get him. But I'm not sure if MD comes in, other than somebody like Gerrard with that presence, they're going to get any time anyway once he does go.
Yeah, but they may just rip up the mould. I agree with you. I don't really want Gerrard back, to be honest. He came, he did it. All right, he won 55, but he won 1 trophy out of 9. That season, we should have done the treble. We got beat in the semi-final twice against, was it St Mirren twice in the semis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just wasn't good enough in my eyes. So I think there'll be a mixture. I think again the next appointment I don't think would be a fan favourite. I think it'll be a surprise pick.
Which is about, I mean, we'll get to as if and when he is sacked, but it will be, if he's not a fan favourite, they'll get the same treatment, unfortunately. And that's
I don't know, Gary. I think if it comes in, they'll not get the same treatment as Martin at this moment in time.
I don't, I think
maybe the same as Beale or Clement or Van Bronckhorst then.
But they never got the abuse as bad. Even Beale didn't get the abuse as bad.
No, the players got it more, didn't they?
Well, Beale got, I mean, Beale got credit because he claimed that he was the mastermind behind 55, so he got an enormous amount of credit for not a lot, to be honest.
I think the next point, I don't know if the next appointment will be a long-term one. It might just come in, I don't think it'll be interim, but it might be a short-term one. Listen, I wouldn't bother me if Gerrard came back. You say Gary does demand, he commands a bit of respect for the players, and I think the players maybe show him more respect back than they do Russell Martin. It's just my own personal opinion.
Did Gerrard not reject us in the summer? I thought he rejected it because it wasn't the right.
I think it's all different. I think there's all different stories about it. You don't really know for sure. I mean, I've said Massey, I'd have had Derek McInnes a few years ago, but I was always told I was talking nonsense. But I have seen folks starting to sway towards that. We should have appointed Derek after Gerrard left, but that never happened. So just personally for me, domestic wise, we need to get back to basics on a level keel. Thursday nights are great and all that, but you can't keep going every season with one league. It's nothing works. It doesn't matter if you've done well in Europe to quarterfinals or only got to the final, but it doesn't happen every season. We need to get back to challenging for league. And it's not even challenging for league. We're not challenged for league for a wee while. No, Clement nearly done it to a point, but we need to get back domestically to basics, and I thought Derek McInnes had done that. That's actually my opinion. You can give me pelters in the comments. I don't really care. I just think Derek was a good choice for the club. And before he said he knocked his back, he did to a point, but he was advised to not come because long term King didn't want him here anyway. But
did it something to do with his assistant?
No, I heard that.
I was something linked to it.
I heard a few ex-Rangers people told him not to take a job and because Dave King didn't want him full time, not to touch it. So I don't know if that's true. But that's just what I'm hearing.
Dave King, the master.
So on that spot, so you just told your fan base in the comments there, I wanted Derek McInnes. I don't really care what any think. I don't care. That sounds like very familiar to what you're saying about earlier on about some days.
I'm going all Russell Martin. I don't care what you think. No. I said they give me pelters. It was just my choice, Derek. I would have been
I don't care. Bring it on. Yes, very Russell Martin will be there, Scott. So, so as we finish the podcast, then I suppose just get a score prediction, your confidence for Thursday night, Scott. We'll come to you first.
Thursday night, I'll take a 2-each draw. I think that's what I think we'll get. I think we'll get a draw, so I'm going 2-each. And I think Miofsky will score, and I think Tav will score again.
Yeah, because he'll be a top goal scorer this season. That's right. As we go on, Cameron.
I saw 3-2 in the comments, so I'm liking the sound of that. I'll take a 3-2. Exciting game for a change. I like the sound of that.
I suppose the argument is in the European game a bit of space to play. Gassama and Antman guys like that should actually be able to thrive. Now, obviously, it's not happened in the Bruges game, but there's potentially the opportunity to do something there. I will go for a draw as well. I think it will be a draw. I mean, I probably went 1-each or 2-each, but I was just seeing some of the comments, 2-0 to Sturm and things like that. You know, it's great to see the positivity of the podcast in the chat there for people.
They're not taking the vibe to me.
I know, at the end of the day, hopefully we are going to get the win. It doesn't. I hate this saying this paper over the cracks all the time. You just want to win for games of football. That's one each game at a time. Each podcast we'll talk about the games before and after, and just want to win them. I don't really want to talk about all the stuff around about it constantly. That's draining for everybody concerned.
I agree with you, Gary. I agree with you. And if we can get more wins under our belt, then we'll start talking more about 3 points and getting stuff and talking about other stuff, because we can't affect other stuff. We only get your opinion on it. I mean, nobody listens to us apart from the people who watch this.
Yeah, and you don't care about them anyway. So this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching it. Please like, share, and subscribe and all that stuff. We're on Spotify tomorrow. Once we hopefully from there with a bit of technical hiccup the last week or two for those that do listen to it that way. We will be back on Friday night, hopefully with a European 3 points under our belt, and looking forward to the.
And I'll be suspended for Friday. I'll be suspended for Friday, Gary.
So you're out. Any more of that? So thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you on Friday night. Take care. Good night.